And you will know my name is the Lord. And I'm walking here. I'm walking here.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Groovy.
Hello and welcome to Box Office Pulp, your one-stop podcast for movies, madness, and moxie. I'm your host, Cody. Joining me today are my co-hosts, Milton. Say hello, Milton.
There's a Milton here?
Has been the whole time. I like how Jamie's going method and is lying dead in a hallway right now.
There's just a pool of blood slowly pooling beyond my head. I'm twitching.
There's still just on a beach.
There's still a large microphone being pointed towards me like it's a game show.
The only way our Suicide Squad episode could go, half of us are already dead before the recording has started, and the other half will be dead before it ends.
Or this is when we bring in a new cast, the reboot cast.
Oh, that'd be great.
We all die immediately.
Wouldn't it be fun if they just shit-canned us with like better podcasters? Oh, fuck, man. Now we have to continue on with this farce. Ugh. Anyways, folks, in case you didn't get it, my real co-hosts are not Milton and Milton, although that'd be fun. We have Jamie. Say hello, Jamie.
Does it weird anybody else out to know that technically we've seen John Cena play the comedian?
Not until you said it. And say hello to my other co-host, Mike.
His balls are huge, right?
I mean, we're ignoring the idea he could have been stuffing those tidy whities.
I feel like...
You think he was?
I feel like...
Let's ignore the
John
actual
Cena?
review of the movie. Let's ignore the actual review of the Suicide Squad. We're going to focus on the psychological makeup of the Peacemaker and if he's the kind of guy who needs to stuff his balls. Like, is he wearing a fake bulge?
Oh, Peacemaker? Yes. John Cena? No.
I would agree. I think the tidy whitey scene is clearly not the real John Cena. I think that's state-of-the-art prosthetic work.
See,
That's possible. I just think it's important to point out John Cena was in his tidy whities with a giant dick, and he's been on a box of Fruity Pebbles.
Cornering all markets. All I know is if I'm ever in a giant action film and they have a scene where I'm in my tidy whities, my request is going to be that they stuff my underpants so much it's a grotesquity. Like, people obviously know that it's not my real unit.
So you just have like several of them. It's
like there's the outline of 3 dicks.
The Conqueror.
I've taken like 15 gym socks and I'm just putting them in there. That's the way it should be. Yeah. I don't know where
Anyway,
this review is going
Suicide
after
Squad.
that. Yeah, this is.
I mean, we've already got...
swing back around.
I mean, we've already gotten the important stuff out of the way. The rest is just frosting.
This is very true. You know, today I actually saw someone on a message board complaining about the ending of the Suicide Squad featuring a giant starfish. And they're like, it should have been something less silly. And I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
In this house, we stand Starro the Conqueror. That is something the Pulp Podcast Network has taken a firm stance on since its inception. You can check the tapes on that.
I'm on your side, Jamie. If you have the chance to end your movie with a gigantic starfish who is just going to smash through cities and possess people with little tiny starfish, of course you would take that opportunity. As everyone else has already noted, this is a million times better than a generic space portal. You've got a weird-ass, giant-eyed alien. And on top of that, when the giant alien dies, eaten from the inside out by a horde of rats, no less, it has the audacity to go out on the line, I was happy floating in space, staring at the stars.
It went out like a Del Toro monster, and it's Starro. Starro died with more pathos than Dr. Octopus.
I was not expecting, like, fucking Star to throw me for a loop at the end as he dies. Like, what?
That's the James Gunn magic.
A lot of
Why did
characters I
Starro just
cared-
want the city?
Fuck it, I'm on this planet now. This is my town. Unless they can build me a rocket to put me back in the stars.
He's gonna become a little fish gangster. He's gonna have a little fedora.
Oh, tuxedo, giant tuxedo on Starro. I'm down for that.
Nobody fucks with Starro and his star, boys.
How was Starro included in the Suicide Squad movie? But it was still a Suicide Squad movie. Like, it's impressive to me that James Gunn was able to utilize Starro to tell the type of story you'd find in old Suicide Squad comics.
Starro was used as a weapon of mass destruction. Like, he was sarin gas for all intents and purposes in what could be described as a political conspiracy thriller.
it works for me just because Starro is not the sole villain of the piece. We have a lot to go through to get to the point of Starro fucking up the city. Like, it's almost like a surprise coda. You've got the whole military coup aspect to go off of for the first starter incident. Then all of a sudden you have the reveal that Peacemaker is an even bigger dick than we thought. There's a couple of levels you have to go through. Plus, there's the threat of Waller nuking everyone for insubordination mixed in as well. There's so many things conspiring to kill these guys. It feels apropos for the name to me.
There's no specific villain, which is it's a welcome breath of fresh air, because a lot of times it's either there's supposed to be a villain and they just don't get care or time. That happens with the MCU a lot. Happens with just action movies in general these days. It feels like where there's an antagonist, but they feel like plot antagonists. Where with the Suicide Squad, it alters a lot. There's nothing. There's no specification for the villain other than kind of the concept of, really like American imperialism overseas and whatnot at the very end, which kind of Peacemaker ends up representing in many ways.
Yes, I think there's also something very, very smart in how Peacemaker, Starro, and Waller are utilized as three heads of one central vague antagonist, which is just the system. It is something that's made very explicitly clear in this movie is its love of outsiders and outcasts and its hatred for any kind of conformity, which is where the genius of making Starro the big bad at the end is like really shines through. Just something that literally just controls people like zombies, being utilized by a member of the establishment like Waller and enforced by a protector of the status quo like Peacemaker. And each branch of that one Hydra villain just represents... it serves its own purpose in the story. You have Peacemaker as an emotional threat, Waller as this almost godlike threat that the characters have to outsmart, or in this case, like you rely on essentially Deus Ex Machina to get out of having their heads explode in the end. And then you have the impossibly dangerous, like super villain threat of Starro, like something that's made for the Justice League to take down, not Polka Dot Man and Harley Quinn. There's been a lot of criticism over the years with the exceptionally bad superhero movies always being linked to the problem of too many villains. Spider-Man 3, too many villains. Suicide Squad. There's I think
we gotta rename these right now. I hate that there's Suicide Squad and The Suicide Squad.
Subtitles are your friend. It would have helped so much.
It's
Suicide Squad Returns.
I appreciate the low-key shade of saying, no. This is the Suicide Squad. This is not a Suicide Squad. But yeah, it's like
go
stuff
all
like
out. Make it like Suicide Squad Strikes Again, The Wrath of the Suicide Squad. Go over the top here. Give me some old like 1960s Japanese naming standards here. Let me know this is a different Suicide Squad.
But yeah, the thing that failed movies like Spider-Man 3 and Batman and Robin, in addition to their other flaws, was just having multiple antagonists, not just multiple villains. And I think it was such a masterstroke of screenwriting to have all of the central antagonists of this movie just essentially serving the same point and the same master.
Now, quick, Jamie, revise all of that to add the Thinker into your description of them as a Hydra.
All that and the Thinker's there.
You done it. You struck gold again, baby.
I love how the Thinker's just there.
Being the Thinker with his little head dangles and his tracksuit. Seriously, Peter, I wish you
the prestige of getting Peter Capaldi in here, Doctor Who himself, to play a jackass with too many spark plugs stuck in his head.
A theater-going experience that will live with me forever is listening to my girlfriend gasp audibly in a theater when Peter Capaldi says, "I call him Starro the Conqueror."
What has the Thinker been doing with Starro all these years?
Apparently cutting up corpses and fucking around with them, see if he can make some zombies, I guess. I have no progress with the Thinker.
That was a grand body horror moment there. I did love that. Thinker was just doing stuff with money, I think.
They go into that strip club. You think Thinker was like a man about town? Like whenever he came in, everyone was like, "Oh, Thinker is here. We'll put on your favorite song."
With his tracksuit.
I'll just have the regular Cortez. They'd get that snake from Falcon and Winter Soldier and cut it open in front of them.
Except for Thinker would be into that. He'd be okay. He'd be fine with the snake.
Iced monkey brains.
To go back a little bit to the idea we were making fun of before, that this is the Suicide Squad and the other one is a Suicide Squad. Not that I took it as this movie kind of shitting on the original, but I do like how they essentially wiped the slate clean in that first scene by more or less killing the big stand-in fan favorite character of the first film, Captain Boomerang. And you get that whole A-team just wiped out, and you move on. You get like your new iterations of the characters. Instead of Killer Croc, now we've got King Shark. We have our Bloodsport. I like the idea of introducing a B-team to be like, yeah, sure, it's still the Suicide Squad that you knew before, but we're changing things up. This is the different squad coming in to kind of mop up what the other one couldn't do.
Well, it immediately establishes something that the original didn't. The central conceit of the Suicide Squad, which is most of them die.
And spending so long setting them up. I mean, it's like, yeah, you expect Javelin and shit to be red shirts, but I was kind of buying the plot, honestly. It's like, yeah, I don't see Rooker lasting and shit, but, you know, all right, Weasel will probably stick around, Boomerang will stick around, they'll probably, like, send in Bloodsport at some point. Oh no, they're just all dead.
Yeah, the second Weasel died before they reached the beach. That's when I knew fucking everything was on the table.
I did enjoy Boomerang, which you have to give Jai Courtney. Jai Courtney? How the fuck do you say his first name? Jai or Jai?
It's Jai.
I think it's Jai. Yeah.
Jai. Like, good sport about things. Just imagine you show back up to this movie and you know you're essentially in like one scene and you have more or less like 2 lines. But hey, he still showed up. He put on the costume. It looked like he was having fun. I liked his last moments of getting that little smile before the helicopter just fucking bodies him. And really a pretty cool looking death montage where they're going through like the kind of opening credit deal and it's just his burnt up fist holding up a boomerang.
A glowing boomerang to ensure that you can see that at night. Also, I will maintain until proven otherwise, his soul is trapped in Katana's sword. He can come back.
His soul is trapped in the glowing boomerang.
I'm sure he got back up 5 minutes later.
He was just missing an arm.
Alive.
It's true.
Also, does it amuse anybody else that this is the second James Gunn project to have a credit sequence that uses people who died?
He just really likes that song.
It's like Zack Snyder and Hallelujah.
Speaking of James Gunn choices, I loved his chapter headings.
Yes, the visual flourishes in this movie are outstanding.
It's not just like a great visual flourish. I love what a love letter to like the medium and structure of comics this was, especially like John Ostrander, obviously, but even like modern day Suicide Squad comics or just comics in general. Like those were issue titles, and I love how you can actually break up this movie into a series of single issues.
Yeah, you basically just get a short film with Harley halfway through the movie after not really seeing her up until that point after the intro. And you're right, like there's I think my favorite example of that is the briefing scene with Waller in front of the gigantic screen, which just looks like something from a Frank Miller comic from 1985 or something.
Yeah.
It's wonderful to see such color and such a dynamic visual style, especially like compared to
everyone. Yeah, do you think that's why everyone likes Rick Flag now? Like he's wearing a yellow shirt, people are like, oh, this guy's all right.
The canary yellow does
help. Where's that performance in RoboCop? That's all I'm saying.
I feel like that's an example of how good this screenplay is when it finds a way to make Rick Flag interesting. This Cyclops of the DC universe.
It's true. Going in, you have zero. Like, Rick Flag isn't interesting. Like, he doesn't have cool powers or anything. So it's like, whatever. I don't give a shit about Rick Flag. And then by the end of this one, when he actually dies, like, oh, no, actually, he's kind of fun. Yeah, of course he'd die.
You felt very bad when Rick Flag died, and I wasn't expecting that because I wanted to go to hell after the first movie.
He did. Not only did he die, we got a Mortal Kombat X-ray of his heart being punctured.
So you know he's dead.
James Gunn had so much money.
I will say, after how much I hated the original Suicide Squad, and this isn't like, in most movies you walk out of and you don't like, it's like, oh, whatever, I'll move on with my life. The original Suicide Squad left such a bad taste in my mouth. Like, I was upset leaving the theater. Like, I absolutely hated it. I didn't like the way it was made. I didn't like anything about it. The fact that we have a new one 5 years later that's actually very enjoyable, there's a lot of fun, and it makes me reconsider watching the original one, it's a minor miracle.
No.
This seems like a concept that should have been, like, left by the side of the road.
I will say, well, I do have a lot of issues with David Ayer's, like, filmography in general, and I'm sure I would have a lot of issues with the original cut of Suicide Squad that he filmed. I think now that we've got the Snyder cut out there, which restores a lot of stuff that Suicide Squad was originally going to build through, fuck it, do the Ayer cut. I want to see these motherfuckers fight parademons.
I don't need to have another cut of the Suicide Squad.
I don't want to be one of those obnoxious people on Twitter or anything about it, but there's not really anything to lose, and it would, like, I hate the Suicides, the Ayer, quote unquote Ayer Suicide Squad, but I have not really seen Ayer Suicide Squad, so it even feels weird to have an opinion on the theatrical cut, which is just this odd studio Frankenstein thing that isn't really even a movie. So I don't know what anything was supposed to be or how it was supposed to work. I don't think it would have been a great movie or even a good movie, but I think it'd be worth seeing the artist's intention. It's not like Ayer's a dunce.
Yeah. It would be nice for, if nothing else, for Harley's story to have a solid bedrock to spring through, because she has had a very nice, like, small character arc throughout these movies. I'm fascinated by the fact that Spider-Man and Harley Quinn have been the two characters that have done most of their growth in movies that don't bear their name.
I am going to be, like, forever bitter that we just didn't get the movies, or at least a movie with Joker and Harley doing stuff.
Considering the version of the Joker we have right now, I'm fine without it.
Just any Joker, any possible Joker. They could just paste animation over him.
There's other Jokers, goddammit, or just use Apocalypse Joker from the Snyder Cut.
I'm perfectly fine just, like, pretending that continuity is some weird slip-up and half of that stuff doesn't exist anymore. We just move on, throw all of it away. We can keep Harley Quinn the way she is.
I think that's the official line.
It's perfect. That's great. That part worked. We've got a good Aquaman. We've got a good Shazam. Everything else, I don't know. Throw it away. Don't care.
Yeah, that's how you explain all of the continuity errors between these movies. Actually, none of them take place in the same universe. They just take place in startlingly similar realities.
It's a big old what-if scenario.
It's the only way the Wonder Woman movies fit in there.
And just throw them all out and replace them with Polka Dot Man origin stories. Like, each movie is a new origin story of Polka Dot Man. That's all I want.
The sadness of Polka Dot Man.
It's very cruel that he finally experienced joy and then was immediately killed for it. Like, you're a cruel man, God.
Starro God.
What a dark joke with him, too. See, just killing his mother over and over and over again.
I was pretty happy that wasn't put into the spoilers at all. Like, you didn't get in the trailers or anything. So the first time that joke hit, I was like, oh shit, that is fantastic. And then it kept happening.
And Gunn just kept going for it.
I love how much of old James Gunn I see in this movie. Like, this is like if you abducted James Gunn off the set of Slither and gave him all of the tools and the skills of modern James Gunn and turned him loose in the DC universe. There is so much weird and so much nasty jam-packed into this movie.
I'm just very curious what he's going to do in the Peacemaker series. Like, he's already killed off Nathan Fillion, and he's already killed off Rooker. Does he bring them back in different makeup or something? Make them CGI monsters that also get killed?
Probably. Or where else will Sean Gunn show up?
He'll be in 15 different spots. He's already
a EU fucking Calendar Man.
I was about to say, yeah, he's been established as Calendar Man and Weasel. So, and any other CGI creature is pretty much just going to be him, I guess. So he could have like 15 different roles moving forward. They can't get rid of him now.
Is Weasel the best design creature of all time? It looks painful to live for Weasel.
There's something about the way Sean Gunn skedaddles away as Weasel in that final scene that's just iconic.
I'd like to think that's how he always acts for Rocket Raccoon.
For joining the Suicide Squad.
Eat babies.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't even know if they had a purpose for him other than they just wanted to fill out the squad for cannon fodder. I mean, he was on the group that was designed to die on the beach.
Oh God, if we're pulling on this thread, I just want to know what TDK did to get thrown in fucking Belle Reve.
Just be weird, freaky.
Use his magic arms. Use his magic arms to pickpocket people like in old cartoons. Like he's sitting around a corner and his hands are like going through someone's back wallet.
The fucking perfect hilarity of his arms come off, but then they still move at a normal walking pace.
I like how he couldn't even like seek cover when he was piloting his arms. Like he had to stand out in the open and then just slap people around. Like this poor guy got
even
the worst
Harley
powers.
was disgusted with how useless he was.
Deploy!
So returning to Weasel for just a second. So the shot of Weasel floating dead in the water, beautifully animated, is the funniest fucking joke in the world, right?
I would argue the funniest joke in the movie to me is when Bloodsport and Peacemaker are having their dick measuring contest going through the rebel stronghold and are just murdering people back and forth in a form of one-upsmanship. And the creme de la creme of it is when Peacemaker just walks up to a guy who is taking a nap and just stabs him like 8 times without even like pausing during any of the stabs. Just like, cha-cha-cha-cha-cha, moving on. Just the nonchalance of that murder is one of the greatest belly laughs I've had in a long time.
I am obsessed with the little bits of quiet, like environmental storytelling in this movie and the things that are just shown to you from like the way characters move and do things. Like it's fascinating to rewatch that scene and just see Peacemaker and Bloodsport both dispatching people in horrific and unnecessarily cruel matters, but watching them both be cruel in slightly different ways that inform you about their character without saying anything. The way those two take out people, the way King Shark just kind of moseys around the environment's not really showing any concern for things that go on around them. The way Ratcatcher is asleep for half of the movie. Like, there's so much telling you about the characters without telling you about the characters in this, which is such a polar opposite of what we got in the original movie, where it's just 80-yard exposition dump of the film.
Remember when they introduced Deadshot like 3 different times to start the movie with people telling you he was the world's greatest assassin?
I'd like to introduce you to Slipknot, the man who can climb anything.
But going to what you said, Jamie, one of my favorite parts is if you focus on the relationship between Bloodsport and Polka Dot Man, how there seems to be like a building trust where Bloodsport will often just throw a gun or a weapon at Polka Dot Man without telling him jack shit, as in, like, whatever, you'll figure this out, you know what to do. Which seems to kind of, like, you can tell in the background, Polka Dot Man is kind of won over and charmed by this and a little nervous, like he has to make do. Like he's been entrusted with something and people actually want him to do things, so he's going to have to do them even if he's nervous.
Yeah, even things like just the amount of character work that goes into Peacemaker just through John Cena's expressions, especially in those last couple of scenes.
His empanada acting.
Peacemaker would just be a joke.
Right, it kind of is, but more than that.
Well, yeah, but he transforms from a joke. Like he's more like a concept of a joke, but a lot is added through acting and Gunn kind of fooling you into thinking he's just a one-off joke.
I mean, there is a bit there, like at the end when he basically begs Flag to not take the drive because he doesn't want to have to kill an American hero, but he'll do it. That steadfast conviction to his ideas of, I'll kill as many women, children, and men as it takes to make peace.
Yeah, I was not
I also really appreciate... No, I'm sorry. Go on.
I was not expecting a complex and hilarious comedic performance from John Cena. Like, he's been having such an amazing career renaissance over the past couple of years, and it's weird to think that he's captured kind of like that Dave Bautista magic, but like kind of going on the opposite end of things. I feel like there's a lot of misdirection just with all of the characters in that way. Like, even with how the characters die, like, other than the final gag with Polka Dot Man being taken care of, being taken out by Starro immediately due to taking a moment to gloat instead of getting the fuck out of there, the only character who's really humiliated in death would be Blackguard and maybe Savant for fucking with that bird. There is a surprisingly amount of dignity afforded to all of these stupid characters.
I mean, we do have Javelin not
James
quite
Gunn's
getting out his
sincerity.
last words.
Javelin, the most important character in the DCU. Because Harley went on a spirit quest over the spear of Javelin, which she used to save the world from Starro.
Well, I do find that amusing because there's so much futility in most of the other characters' actions throughout the film. Like, if you really think about it, what does King Shark do that's super important to the plot? He doesn't die, and he eats a couple people, but very rarely is he doing something that's overall critical for the success of the mission. Even at the end, Starro just kind of throws him through a building. Polka Dot Man, gets to kind of burn through part of Starro's leg before he's crushed. Peacemaker dies before he can, actually stop the mission the way he's supposed to. Bloodsport, you could argue, saves the mission because, well, not really truly the mission, the opposite of the mission, because he saves the recordings. But he himself can't take down Starro. That's all Ratcatcher. So it's basically Ratcatcher gets to have the big hero moment, and Harley, because she has the Spear of Destiny, more or less. Everyone else there is almost incidental or dying in futility, which is very fitting for a Suicide Squad movie where everyone's just on a suicide mission. Weird. Mostly this is embodied for me from Milton. Like, that guy hangs around for no reason and then just gets wasted. And the only guy he cares is Polka Dot Man, who will again just get wasted later unceremoniously. And everyone just kind of moves on besides Ratcatcher.
And only Polka Dot Man cares about Milton. Everyone else doesn't give a shit because James Gunn remembers these characters are villains. Which I appreciated so much. The entire concept of a Suicide Squad movie, from the first one to this one, worries me because, and they went too far with it in at least the theatrical cut of the first one, of them being heroic to a uncharacteristic degree.
Yeah.
This, though, really treads the line where, the only one who's outright heroic is Flag, who's not a villain, and Ratcatcher, to a degree in that she actually has empathy and cares.
She was just arrested
she's
for
not
theft.
out and out
That's
villainous,
all we know. Like, she hasn't murdered anyone.
So she doesn't really have that going on, but other than that, she doesn't care that much about society. It's like and I was worried at the end that Bloodsport would actually release the files and all that, but no, just using it for blackmail and just that's it.
Yeah,
that's a villain move.
I really appreciated what a piece of shit Bloodsport was. Like, just from top to bottom. Like, they didn't do the Disney dad thing, like we definitely got with Deathstroke in the first movie, where it's like, he's a lowly criminal, but he cares about his daughter so much. Like, no, Bloodsport is just a bad person.
I do think we got a hint of how he's willing to compromise on things a little earlier when he has one of his confrontations with Peacemaker, where he tells him, like, no one likes to show off. And Peacemaker just turns around like they do if what they're showing off is dope as fuck. And Bloodsport turns around and is like, fuck, he's right. The fact that he's willing to admit something when he's wrong, like he'll adapt to the situation, he's not going to insist on his way, I think was nice through line for the character. Because he gets to the end, he's like, well, you can't have it all. I know what I have to do to survive. Here we go. I'm not going to release the tape. It sucks because my best friend died to get me this tape. That's my insurance policy, and that's how it is.
It's interesting to find out that Deathstroke was the leader of the team for it seemed to be quite a while, based on some concept art that came out. There was clearly the finished version of members of the team being led by Deathstroke. Because I more or less just expected like a Bloodsport with the daughter and all that. It's just it's just Deadshot, and they just made him Bloodsport.
Yeah, same.
He's basically the same goddamn character for the most part, as regards to how they set him up anyway.
He's comic book Deadshot, pretty much.
Yeah, but no, seeing Deathstroke, how they treat Bloodsport is very Deathstroke. Like, just without Deathstroke's honor, but that kind of like piece of shit. But I do ultimately have a purpose beyond just like trying to kill Superman. So I'll do some other stuff that it's vaguely heroic.
It is a bummer we didn't get to see him shoot the kryptonite bullet. That'd have been a fun character intro. That's
what they get Henry Cavill for. James Gunn lets him grow the mustache.
In a hospital bed. I want to see that prequel movie. More Bloodsport, please.
Yes.
More everybody. More Ratcatcher.
Yes.
The beauty of Ratcatcher. The beauty of Ratcatcher 1.
Taika Waititi showing up. Some Taika Waititi showing up in the last minute to give the moral of the film.
I was gonna say, did you guys expect him to show up and have like a very sincere appearance? I normally don't expect it from him. Normally it's something very deadpan, but joking. Yeah. And this one, no, it's most sincere kind of role he's put out in quite a while. I was very surprised. It kind of took me out of things.
He's a really good actor. I forgot.
I mean, the last time we saw him on screen, he was playing Hitler, so it was kind of this is different.
I mean, we don't know Ratcatcher 1's backstory. We don't know what he was running from. That entire sequence, I feel, may be the most James Gunn thing James Gunn has ever put on film. Just the juxtaposition of like the beauty of that memory, with them like looking down on the streets, together having this moment of comfort as outcasts, and then pairing that with like them taking down Starro in that city street, like the horror of that imagery with the beauty of that memory that's inside of Ratcatcher, and then that shot of Harley inside of the eye. Like her experiencing this moment of beauty surrounded by all of this nauseating carnage. It reminded me so much of the moment in Slither where the mayor succumbs to eating human flesh while weeping as Your Every Woman in the World to Me plays. Gunn is a master of mixing together the very sweet and sincere with the most horrific shit imaginable. And it's really great to see him return to that territory again. Now that's I don't think he does anything quite better than that.
No, definitely. I'm very curious if Gunn can top the Suicide Squad. I don't mean in quality or anything like that. I just mean as far as this is probably James Gunn's like masterpiece. Everything he's learned, everything he's done is put together into one singular film.
Yeah.
In the perfect way. And I'm wondering if there's even more to that level of masterpiece with, a Guardians 3, another original movie, another Suicide Squad movie, or something else like that.
Yeah, it was something that left me kind of almost shell-shocked walking out. It's like, I know we were all expecting this movie to be a lot of fun and probably be very good. I wasn't expecting this to be, like you said, a masterpiece. Like, I still think Guardians 2 is probably Gunn's best written script, but this is leaps and bounds his best movie. Like, this seems like a movie Gunn would have made 10 years after Guardians 2, not 3 or 4.
Well, it'd be interesting to me to see how he does, if he ever gets another chance for something like this again, because how often do you get a movie where you've got the backing of a major studio that can give you $200 million, a cast of fairly well-known celebrities, you're allowed to go as gory as you want. Like, this is some pretty big gore. We see King Shark rip a man in half. You see him munching heads. And yet he still does his thing of having very sweet or almost kind of schmaltzy moments in there. Like, how are you going to be able to get on that stage again? It's not like you're going to have a lot of opportunities to make that mix. Even going to Guardians of the Galaxy, you could have a toned-down version of this, but I doubt Marvel would allow him to make an R-rated film where he has the Collector ripped limb from limb by a giant starfish. So this might just be kind of the stars aligned, and this is the opportunity you get. Go ahead and make something way out there and weird.
Yeah,
and
kind of a unicorn moment. It's auteur filmmaking on a ridiculously overly massive scale.
That said,
I mean, there's no reason for a Suicide Squad movie to even have a $200 million budget. So
it's fucking insane. I mean, it just shows like DC is becoming a very interesting place to make movies right now. Like, I'm very happy with how the rough edges of this universe have kind of been smoothed down. And we reached a point where most of what WB's putting out is good, and most of it is very weird and interesting. Like, Joker is nothing like Birds of Prey, which is nothing like Shazam, which is going to be nothing like the Batman. Like, I'm really digging what a unique alternative to what other superhero movies are out there DC's becoming.
They're failing so hard with their levels of control and just a whole lot of other factors have really led them into an interesting place of you seem to know what you're doing. Just make whatever the fuck you want. Here's a lot of money and hope for the best, which, for better or for worse, will at least knit you something really interesting.
Yeah, I'm really digging every DC movie just being a complete roll of the dice now. I don't care if occasionally we get a Dawn of Justice. Like, I like how unpredictable this all is. And
I'm just stuck having flashbacks to Dawn of Justice and being very unhappy in the theater. No, not again.
It's okay. No movie will ever be that bad. Society will not allow it. That's a line in the sand we drew as the movie going public. Never again.
I know
Suicide Squad came out
afterwards. I know Snyderverse fans who are like, no, Batman vs. Superman was a great film. And it's like, I don't know what truth means anymore. Up could be down. Words don't have meaning.
I don't know what truth means.
I will fucking go on record as saying the amount of people who love Dawn of Justice are the amount of people who believe the Earth is flat, and are probably the same folks.
We're on a watch list now.
Yep. That's actually how we end the episode, as fucking all of our heads explode. Just bullet after bullet after bullet. Just put in some sound effects of heads exploding. Can you steal that from Scanners?
It just becomes the ends of Kingsman all of a sudden.
If I was going to pick a way to go out, that'd be great. One, you leave a lot of mess for other people, and it's not your fault. So it's great because they have to think about you as they're scrubbing you off the walls. But you don't have to feel guilty because it's not like I blew my brains out. Someone else did. That's on them. Remember me.
And like that, he's gone.
Can we just cut to credits on Cody saying remember me as a ghost for no particular reason?
I think that works pretty solid. I was going to do the normal, hey, if you've enjoyed this podcast stuff, but I think it works much better if we all just die. Folks, if you've enjoyed this podcast, we do actually have other spots where you can find more of the show, including commentary tracks, movie reviews, or just general bullshitting about movies, pretending to have a theme. You can find that at boxofficepulp.com. You can find more of us on Twitter. We're on Facebook. I think Stitcher. I'm always forgetting the other places we're at. iTunes. You can check all those out. Please leave us a review, unless it's negative, in which case, please don't leave a review. That will hurt my feelings. Pause for effect done. Anyways, folks, we appreciate you listening. That's a wrap. Get the hell out of here.
Cody, I thought you were dead.
I am! Ooh.
This is Box Office Pulp Guy, and this has been a Pulp Podcast production. Now please, 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 put a gun in my mouth and pull the trigger and say goodnight.
And now, on with the show.